Dr. Maya Chen stood in front of her bathroom mirror every morning at exactly 6:30 a.m., brushing her teeth while mentally reviewing the day ahead. She lived her life like a perfectly planned experiment, and that's exactly how she liked it. At 32, she had built a successful career studying human behavior, specifically why people fell in love and why they fell out of it just as quickly. Maya's apartment reflected her personality perfectly. Clean white walls, a single couch, facing a bookshelf filled with psychology journals, and a coffee table stacked with research papers. Her friends often joked that walking into her place felt like entering a laboratory, but Maya took it as a compliment. Everything had its place. Everything had a purpose. And nothing was left to chance. Her office at the university was where she felt most comfortable. Students would come to her with broken hearts, asking why their relationships failed, and Maya would explain it all with scientific precision. She would draw diagrams on the whiteboard showing how dopamine and oxytocin worked in the brain, how humans were programmed to seek partners for survival, and how what people called love was really just chemistry playing tricks on their minds. Love is not magic, she would tell her students. It's biology. When you understand the science behind it, you can make better decisions about relationships. Maya had tested this theory on herself many times. She had been on dates, of course, plenty of them. And she approached each one like a research project. She would observe how the person behaved, predict their responses, and analyze whether they would be a good logical match. The problem was, once she figured someone out, she lost interest. It was like solving a puzzle and then having no reason to keep playing with it. Her colleague, Dr. Peterson, would often shake his head at her approach. "Maya, you can't analyze your way into love," he would say over coffee in the faculty lounge. "Sometimes you just have to feel it." "It's exactly the problem," Maya would reply, stirring her coffee methodically. "Feelings are unreliable. They cloud judgment and lead to poor decisions. Look at the divorce rates. Look at how many people come to therapy because they trusted their feelings instead of their brains." Maya's research had made her somewhat famous. In academic circles, she had published papers with titles like "The Evolutionary Mistake of Romantic Attachment" and "Why Humans Confuse Chemistry with Connection." Her work suggested that people would be happier if they approached relationships more practically, choosing partners based on compatibility rather than passion. But despite her success, Maya sometimes felt like something was missing. She would catch herself staring out of her office window, watching couples walk across the campus quad, holding hands and laughing together. She would quickly turn back to her computer, reminding herself that what she was seeing was just a temporary chemical reaction that would fade in 18 months. According to her research, her daily routine was predictable and comfortable. Wake up, review notes, teach classes, conduct research, go home, read journals, sleep. Weekends were for catching up on academic papers and attending conferences. She had convinced herself that this was enough, that she had everything she needed for a fulfilling life. Maya's friends had given up trying to set her up on dates. They had learned that she would spend the entire evening analyzing her dates' behavior patterns instead of actually getting to know them as a person. "You're like a detective on a case," her friend Lisa had told her after one particularly unsuccessful blind date. "You're so busy looking for clues that you forget to enjoy the mystery." The truth was, Maya was scared. She was scared of losing control, scared of making decisions based on emotions instead of logic, scared of becoming one of those people who did crazy things in the name of love. She had seen too many smart people make terrible choices because they trusted their hearts instead of their heads. One Thursday afternoon, Maya was preparing for her biggest presentation of the year. She had been invited to speak at the National Conference on Human Behavior, and she was going to present her latest research on why romantic love was essentially a biological mistake that humans needed to evolve beyond. She stood in her empty apartment, practicing her speech to the mirror. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today to challenge one of humanity's most cherished beliefs. The idea that romantic love is something special, something that transcends our basic biology, is not just wrong, it's harmful." Maya felt confident in her research. She had data, statistics, brain scans, and years of case studies to support her argument. She was going to show the world that love was nothing more than a chemical reaction, and that understanding this would set people free to make better, more logical choices about their relationships. As she packed her presentation materials that evening, Maya felt a strange flutter in her stomach. She dismissed it as pre-speech nerves, but part of her wondered if she was nervous about something else entirely. What if she was wrong? What if there was something about human connection that couldn't be measured or analyzed? She quickly pushed the thought away. She was a scientist, and science didn't deal in what-ifs. It dealt in facts, and the facts were clear. Love was chemistry, nothing more, nothing less. The next morning, Maya boarded her flight to the conference, completely unaware that her carefully constructed world was about to be challenged by someone who would make her question everything she thought she knew about the human heart. She settled into her window seat, opened her laptop, and began reviewing her presentation one more time. Confident that by the end of the week, she would have convinced a room full of experts that love was just another biological function that humans had romanticized beyond recognition. Little did she know that sitting in the audience would be someone who would teach her that some things in life couldn't be explained by science alone, and that the heart had its own intelligence that no amount of research could fully capture. The conference hall was packed with some of the brightest minds in psychology and human behavior. Maya stood at the podium, her presentation slides perfectly organized, her speech memorized down to every pause and emphasis. She had delivered this talk dozens of times in her head, and now it was time to share her groundbreaking research with the world. Love, as we understand it today, is simply evolution playing a trick on our minds, Maya began, clicking to her first slide showing brain scans. What we call romantic feelings are nothing more than chemical reactions designed to ensure we reproduce and protect our offspring. The audience listened intently as she walked them through her research. Charts showing hormone levels, statistics about relationship failures, brain imaging studies that reduced love to measurable chemical processes. Maya felt in her element, confident and in control. Then came the question and answer session. Hands shot up around the room, mostly supportive questions from colleagues who admired her work. But then a hand went up in the middle section, and Maya's eyes landed on someone she hadn't noticed before. "Dr. Chen, thank you for that fascinating presentation," said a warm voice. The speaker was around her age, with gentle eyes and an easy smile. "I'm Alex Rivera from the Philosophy Department at Central University. I have a question about your methodology." Maya nodded, expecting another technical question about her research methods. "You've shown us what happens in the brain during romantic experiences," Alex continued, "but how do you account for the subjective experience of love, the way it feels to the person experiencing it? Can we really understand something fully by only looking at its physical components?" Maya blinked. It wasn't the type of question she usually received. "Well, subjective experiences are unreliable," she replied, "are influenced by cultural expectations, personal biases, and emotional states. Science requires objective measurement." Alex smiled gently. "But isn't the subjective experience the whole point? If someone feels deeply connected to another person, if that feeling gives their life meaning and joy, does it matter whether we can measure it in a lab?" A murmur went through the audience. Maya felt something she rarely experienced during presentations: uncertainty. "Feelings can be misleading," she said, falling back on her standard response. "People think they're in love all the time, and then they break up 6 months later." "That's true," Alex agreed. "But people also think they understand things all the time, and then new research proves them wrong. Does that mean we should stop trying to understand the world?" The room fell silent. Maya found herself staring at Alex, trying to process this unexpected challenge to her worldview. No one had ever questioned her research from this angle before. After a moment, she managed to smile and said, "Perhaps we can continue this discussion after the session." When the presentation ended, Maya found herself surrounded by the usual crowd of academics wanting to discuss her work. But her eyes kept drifting toward Alex, who was patiently waiting near the back of the room. Finally, when the crowd dispersed, Alex approached. "I hope I didn't put you on the spot too much," Alex said with a genuine smile. "I find your research fascinating, even if I see things differently." "How exactly do you see things differently?" Maya asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her slight irritation. Would you like to discuss it over coffee? I think this might take a while. Maya checked her phone. She had planned to review notes for tomorrow's sessions, but something about Alex's question had unsettled her in a way she couldn't quite explain. Sure, there's a cafe across the street. The coffee shop was busy with conference attendees, but they found a quiet corner table. Maya ordered her usual black coffee, while Alex got something with foam art that Maya would normally dismiss as frivolous. So, Maya began, pulling out her notebook. You study philosophy? Specifically, the philosophy of consciousness and human experience, Alex replied. I'm interested in what it means to be human beyond what we can measure and quantify, Maya raised an eyebrow. That sounds awfully unscientific. Alex laughed, and Maya noticed it was a nice sound. Not unscientific, just a different kind of investigation. Think about it this way. You can study every component of a symphony. Analyze the frequencies of each note, measure the vibrations, but does that tell you what it's like to be moved to tears by the music? But emotions are just chemical reactions, Maya insisted. Tears are a physiological response to stimuli. Yes, but why does that matter? Alex leaned forward, eyes bright with curiosity rather than argument. Even if love is just chemistry, even if music is just sound waves, the experience itself is still real and meaningful to the person having it. Maya found herself staring at Alex's hands as they gestured, noticing details she wouldn't normally pay attention to. But if we understand the mechanism, we can control it, predict it, maybe even prevent the negative outcomes. Or maybe Alex suggested gently, some things are worth experiencing, even if they're risky. Maybe the attempt to control everything actually makes us miss the point entirely. They talked for 2 hours. Maya kept checking her phone, telling herself she should get back to her hotel room to prepare for the next day, but somehow she couldn't bring herself to leave. Alex had a way of asking questions that made Maya think about her own assumptions in ways she never had before. I should probably head back, Maya finally said, though she made no move to stand up. Me too, Alex agreed, also remaining seated. This has been really interesting. You've made me think about my own views in new ways. Maya felt a strange warmth. At the compliment, you've certainly given me some things to consider. They walked back to the hotel together, their conversation continuing on the sidewalk. Alex talked about growing up in a family of artists, while Maya shared stories about her strict academic upbringing. She found herself laughing at Alex's gentle humor, something she rarely did with people she'd just met at the hotel entrance. They hesitated. Would you like to have dinner tomorrow? Alex asked. I promised to keep the philosophical debates to a minimum. Maya surprised herself by saying yes without analyzing the decision first. As she rode the elevator to her room, she wondered what was happening to her usual careful approach to new people. She tried to dismiss it as intellectual curiosity. Something felt different about this interaction. That night, Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling, unable to fall asleep at her usual time. Alex's questions kept running through her mind, challenging everything she thought she knew about human connection. For the first time in years, Maya wondered if maybe, just maybe, she was missing something. It's important about the very thing she'd spent her career studying. She had always prided herself on being objective, but talking with Alex made her realize she might have been looking at love through a very narrow lens. The thought both excited and terrified her. 3 months had passed since the conference, and Maya's life had developed an unexpected rhythm. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Alex would call her during her lunch break. Sometimes they talked about work, sometimes about books they were reading, and sometimes about nothing important at all. Maya found herself looking forward to these calls in a way that made her uncomfortable. She was sitting in her office one Tuesday afternoon, checking her phone every few minutes. When it finally rang, she answered on the first ring, then immediately felt annoyed with herself for seeming too eager. Hey, Alex's voice came through, warm and familiar. How was your morning lecture? Fine, Maya said, though it hadn't been fine at all. She had been distracted, thinking about their last conversation instead of focusing on her students. How's your research going? They talked for 45 minutes, and when Maya hung up, she realized she had been smiling the entire time. She caught her reflection in her computer screen and frowned. This was exactly the kind of behavior she warned her clients about getting. Emotionally attached based on regular contact and shared interests. That evening, Maya sat at her kitchen table with a yellow legal pad, writing down everything she knew about her situation with Alex. She drew charts and made lists, trying to understand what was happening to her from a scientific perspective. Possible explanations, she wrote at the top. 1. Intellectual stimulation leading to increased dopamine production. 2. Novel social interaction creating temporary attachment response. 3. Proximity effect, regular contact creating false sense of intimacy. She studied her notes, nodding as she wrote. This made sense. She could explain everything that was happening. Alex was simply an interesting person who challenged her thinking. The warm feelings she experienced during their conversations were just her brain responding to intellectual engagement. It's nothing more. But then why did she feel disappointed when Alex couldn't talk on Thursday because of a faculty meeting? Did she find herself saving funny stories throughout the week to share during their calls? And why did she catch herself wondering what Alex was doing when they weren't talking? Maya decided she needed some distance to think clearly. The next Tuesday, when Alex called, she kept the conversation short. I'm pretty busy this week, she said, which was partly true. Maybe we can catch up later, of course Alex said, though. Maya thought she heard a note of confusion in their voice. Take care of yourself. After hanging up, Maya felt both relieved and strangely empty. She threw herself into her work, staying late at the office and taking on extra research projects. She told herself this was better, that she was getting back to her normal, productive routine, but her work began to suffer in unexpected ways. During therapy sessions with her clients, Maya found herself listening to their stories differently. When her client David talked about missing his ex-girlfriend, instead of immediately explaining the biochemical withdrawal process, Maya found herself thinking about how lost he looked, how genuine his pain seemed. She used to text me good morning every day, David said, his voice shaking. I know it sounds stupid, but I keep checking my phone, hoping... Maya opened her mouth to explain about habit formation and reinforcement schedules, but the words didn't come. Instead, she heard herself asking, what did those messages mean to you? David looked surprised. Maya usually focused on helping him understand why he felt the way he did, not encouraging him to talk about the feelings themselves. They made me feel like someone cared about me, he said slowly, like I mattered to someone. I felt something twist in her chest. And how does it feel not to have that anymore? Like part of my day is missing, David admitted. Like I'm eating breakfast in a restaurant where they forgot to turn on the lights. After David left, Maya sat in her office staring at the wall. She had heard similar descriptions hundreds of times before, but this time she actually understood what he meant. She thought about her Tuesday and Thursday phone calls with Alex, how they had become the bright spots in her week, how everything else felt a little duller without them. The following week, one of her longtime clients, Mrs. Patterson, came in for her regular session. Mrs. Patterson had been seeing Maya for 2 years, working through the aftermath of her divorce, using Maya's practical, evidence-based approach. I met someone, Mrs. Patterson announced as soon as she sat down. Maya pulled out her notepad. Tell me about the circumstances of this meeting. Was it through mutual friends, online, workplace? Does it matter? Mrs. Patterson asked, smiling. I feel happy for the first time in months. It's important to understand the context, Maya explained. We need to determine whether this is a healthy connection or a rebound response to your divorce trauma. Mrs. Patterson's smile faded. Can't you just be happy for me? Maya blinked. I am here to help you make good decisions based on evidence and rational thinking. Dr. Chen, Mrs. Patterson said quietly, I've been coming here for 2 years. You've helped me understand why my marriage failed, why I made the choices I did, why I felt so lost afterward. But you've never once helped me understand how to be happy. Maya felt defensive. Happiness is a temporary emotional state. My job is to help you build lasting psychological wellness. Mrs. Patterson stood up suddenly. You know what? I think I'm done here. I came to tell you that I feel alive again, that someone makes me laugh every day, that I wake up excited about the future, and all you want to do is analyze it to death. Mrs. Patterson, please sit down. Let's discuss this rationally. No, Mrs. Patterson said firmly. I'm tired of being rational about everything. Some things in life are worth feeling, not just understanding. She walked toward the door, then turned back. Dr. Chen, you're brilliant and you've helped me in many ways. But you're treating love like it's a disease that needs to be cured instead of something that might actually make life worth living. The door closed with a soft click, leaving Maya alone in her office. She sat there for a long time, thinking about Mrs. Patterson's words. Had she really been treating love like a disease? Was her scientific approach actually helping people? Or was she just protecting herself from having to face her own fears? That evening, Maya found herself walking through the park near her apartment. She watched couples sitting on benches, talking and laughing together. Instead of analyzing their behavior patterns, she found herself wondering what it would feel like to have someone to share the beautiful sunset with. Her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Alex. Hope you're having a good week. Saw. A documentary about consciousness that made me think of our conversations. Maya stared at the message for a full 5 minutes before typing back. I'd like to hear about it. Want to talk tonight? Alex replied almost immediately. Maya's finger hovered over the keyboard. Every rational part of her mind told her to say no, to maintain the distance she had been trying to create. But Mrs. Patterson's words echoed in her head. Some things are worth feeling, not just understanding. Yes, she typed, and hit send before she could change her mind. As she walked home, Maya realized that for the first time in her adult life, she was about to do something that she couldn't fully explain or control. It terrified her, but it also made her feel more alive than she had in years. 6 months later, Maya found herself packing for another conference. But this time, everything felt different. She and Alex had been talking regularly again, their conversations growing deeper and more personal. They had moved beyond intellectual debates to sharing stories about their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Maya found herself telling Alex things she had never told anyone. The conference was in San Francisco, and Maya was giving the keynote speech on relationship psychology. She had rewritten her presentation 3 times, each version softer than the last. Her research hadn't changed, but somehow her perspective on what it all meant was shifting. The morning of her presentation, Maya stood in her hotel room, practicing her speech. But instead of the confident certainty she usually felt, she found herself questioning every point. Was she really helping people by teaching them to distrust their emotions? Was there something valuable about love that couldn't be measured in a laboratory? A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. When she opened it, Alex stood in the hallway holding a cup of coffee and wearing a nervous smile. "Surprise," Alex said. "I hope you don't mind. I wanted to hear your keynote speech." Maya felt her heart do something that she was pretty sure wasn't scientifically explainable. "You flew here just to hear me speak?" Well, Alex said, stepping into the room. "I also wanted to see you. We've been talking for months, but I missed seeing your face when you laugh at my terrible jokes." Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. She had missed Alex too, though she hadn't admitted it to herself until this moment. "I'm nervous about the speech," she confessed, which surprised her. She never admitted weakness to anyone. "You'll be brilliant," Alex said simply. "You always are." The keynote went well, though Maya found herself speaking more cautiously than usual. She presented her research, but also acknowledged the limitations of purely scientific approaches to understanding human experience. In the audience, she could see Alex listening intently, occasionally nodding or smiling. After the presentation, Alex suggested they explore the city. They took a cable car to Golden Gate Park and wandered through the Japanese tea garden. Afternoon was warm and peaceful, and Maya found herself relaxing in a way she rarely did at conferences. "Can I ask you something personal?" Alex said, as they sat by a small pond watching koi fish swim lazily in circles. Maya tensed slightly. Wasn't used to personal questions, but she nodded. "What made you decide to study love from such a clinical perspective?" Alex asked gently. "Was it always just academic curiosity?" Maya was quiet for a long moment. She watched the fish swimming, their movements graceful and purposeful. My parents divorced when I was 12, she finally said. It was brutal. Had been so happy, or at least I thought they were. One day they were laughing together. The next day they were screaming at each other. Alex waited quietly for her to continue. My mom cried for months, Maya continued. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. I watched this intelligent, capable woman fall apart because she had trusted her feelings instead of her. Judgment, I decided then that emotions were dangerous, that love was just a trap that led to pain. That must have been terrifying for a 12-year-old. Alex said softly. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, which annoyed her. She never cried. I promised myself I would never let feelings control me like that. I would understand love scientifically, so I could protect myself and help other people protect themselves too. And has it worked? Alex asked. Do you feel protected? Maya thought about the question seriously. I feel safe, she said slowly. But sometimes I wonder if I also feel ... empty. They walked deeper into the garden, past blooming cherry trees and carefully tended flower beds. Alex shared their own story about losing both parents in a car accident during college and how that experience had taught them that life was too short to waste on fear. I learned that nothing is guaranteed, Alex said. Not safety, not love, not even tomorrow. So I decided to embrace uncertainty instead of trying to control it. As the sun began to set, they found themselves on a bench overlooking the entire garden. The light was golden and soft, and Maya felt something shift inside her chest. She looked. Alex really looked at them and realized that somewhere along the way, her feelings had grown beyond intellectual curiosity or simple friendship. Alex, she said quietly, I think I'm scared. Of what? Of this. Maya gestured between them. Of you. Of the way I feel when we talk. How much I look forward to your calls. Of how empty my days feel when we don't speak. Alex turned to face her fully. How do you feel right now? Maya took a deep breath, like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, and I can either step back to safety or jump and hope I can fly. What does your research tell you to do? Alex asked with a gentle smile. Step back, Maya said immediately. Maintain emotional distance. Protect myself from potential pain. And what does your heart tell you? Maya felt something inside her. Chest expand, like a flower opening to sunlight. For the first time in her adult life, she tried to listen to something other than her analytical mind. My heart tells me that maybe some risks are worth taking, she whispered. That maybe the possibility of connection is worth the possibility of pain. Alex reached out and gently took her hand. Felt electricity shoot up her arm. And instead of analyzing the biochemical response, she simply enjoyed the sensation. I care about you, Maya, Alex said quietly. I care about your brilliant mind and your careful heart, and the way you're brave enough to question everything you believe. Maya felt tears on her cheeks, but for once she didn't try to stop them. I care about you too, she admitted. More than I know how to handle. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned pink and orange around them. Maya realized that this moment, sitting next to Alex in a garden, watching the sunset, felt more real and meaningful than all her years of research and analysis. What happens now? She asked softly. I don't know, Alex admitted. Okay, maybe not knowing is part of what makes it beautiful. Maya thought about all the couples she had counseled, all the people she had taught to approach love logically and carefully. For the first time, she understood that maybe they hadn't come to her to learn how to love better. Maybe they had come to her because they had forgotten how to feel at all. As they walked back toward the hotel, Maya felt like she was seeing the world with new eyes. The couples they passed on the street weren't just examples of chemical attraction and evolutionary programming. They were people choosing to be vulnerable with each other, choosing connection over safety, choosing to believe that love was worth the risk. Alex, Maya said as they reached the hotel lobby. Yes. I want to try something I've never tried before. What's that? Maya took a deep breath. I want to stop analyzing what's happening between us and just ... experience it. Alex smiled and Maya thought it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. I'd like that too, Alex said. That night, Maya lay in her hotel bed staring at the ceiling. But instead of trying to categorize and understand her feelings, she simply let herself feel them. For the first time in years, she was excited about tomorrow, not because she had it planned and controlled, but because she had no idea what it would bring. The next morning, Maya and Alex met for breakfast at a small cafe near the hotel. Maya had barely slept, but instead of feeling tired, she felt strangely energized. Everything seemed brighter somehow. The coffee tasted richer. The morning light looked warmer, and Alex's smile made her feel like she could conquer the world. I have a confession, Alex said over pancakes. I was terrified to come here yesterday. Why? Maya asked, genuinely surprised. Because I was afraid you might analyze our friendship out of existence, Alex admitted with a laugh. I kept imagining you pulling out charts and explaining why we shouldn't spend time together. Maya felt her cheeks warm. I thought about it, she said honestly. I made lists. I drew diagrams. I tried to prove to myself that what I was feeling was just intellectual attraction. And what did you conclude? Maya set down her fork and looked directly at Alex. Maybe some things can't be understood by breaking them down into parts. Maybe some things can only be understood by experiencing them whole. After breakfast, they decided to walk through the city before Maya's afternoon flight. They wandered through Chinatown, rode a cable car, and eventually found themselves at the waterfront watching boats in the bay. Maya, Alex said as they leaned against the railing, can I tell you something? Of course. I think I'm falling in love with you. The words hung in the air between them. Maya felt her heart race, and for once, she didn't try to explain it away as a stress response. She turned to face Alex, studying their face, the gentle eyes, the nervous smile. The way they were trying to look brave despite obviously being terrified. That should scare me, Maya said softly. But does it? Maya considered the question seriously. 3 months ago, those words would have sent her running. She would have immediately started listing all the reasons why love was temporary. Why it led to poor decisions. Why it was safer to stay emotionally detached. No, she said, surprising herself. It doesn't scare me. It feels ... right. Alex's smile grew wider. Really? I've spent my entire career studying love from the outside, Maya continued. I've measured it, categorized it, explained it, but I've never actually felt it. Not like this. And how does it feel? Maya thought for a moment, trying to find words for something that went beyond her usual scientific vocabulary. It feels like coming home to a place I didn't know I was looking for. It feels like finding out that there's a whole color I've never seen before, and now everything looks different. Alex reached out and gently touched her cheek. Maya, I know this is new for you. We can take it as slow as you need. Maya looked into Alex's eyes and made a decision that had nothing to do with research or analysis or careful planning. She leaned forward and kissed them. The kiss was soft and tentative at first, then deeper as Maya let herself feel everything she had been holding back. When they finally separated, Maya was breathless and laughing. That was, she started, then stopped. I don't have words for that. Some things don't need words, Alex said. Pulling her closer, they stood there, holding each other as the sun climbed higher in the sky. And Maya realized that everything she thought she knew about love had been incomplete. It wasn't just chemistry, though. That was part of it. It wasn't just evolutionary programming, though. That played a role, too. Love was something bigger and more complex than any single explanation could capture. On the plane home, Maya pulled out her laptop and began writing. But instead of research notes or data analysis, she found herself writing about her experience, about the fear and joy and wonder of opening her heart to someone else. Over the following weeks, Maya began integrating her new understanding into her work. She didn't abandon her scientific approach, but she expanded it. She started asking her clients not just why they felt the way they did, but how those feelings affected their lives, what meaning they found in their relationships, what they hoped to experience. Her colleague Dr. Peterson noticed the change immediately. You seem different lately, he said over coffee, happier. I've been doing some personal research, Maya replied with a smile. Personal research? On love? from the inside this time? Dr. Peterson raised an eyebrow. And what have you discovered? Maya thought about Alex, about their daily phone calls that had turned into video chats, about the weekend visits they had started planning, about the way her entire worldview had shifted to include room for mystery and magic alongside science and logic. I've discovered that understanding how something works doesn't diminish its beauty, she said. If anything, it makes it more amazing. I can know that music is sound waves and still be moved to tears by a symphony. I can understand the neuroscience of love and still feel my heart skip when Alex texts me. Alex, Maya's smile grew wider. The person who taught me that the heart has its own intelligence and that some questions are better lived than answered. 3 months later, Maya stood at another podium in front of another audience of researchers and therapists. But this time, her presentation was different. She still shared her research about the biology of love, but she also talked about its meaning, its value, its capacity to transform lives. Love is both chemistry and choice, she told the audience. It's both biology and biography, you can understand. Its mechanisms without reducing its mystery. We can study its patterns without destroying its power. In the front row, Alex sat smiling up at her, and Maya felt that familiar flutter in her chest that she now recognized as her heart saying hello to the person who had taught her how to feel. The question isn't whether love is real, Maya continued. Looking directly at Alex, the question is whether we're brave enough to let it be real in our lives. After her presentation, Maya and Alex walked hand in hand through yet another city. This time, planning not just their next conversation, but their next vacation, their next shared adventure, their next step into the beautiful unknown of building a life together. I have another confession, Maya said as they watched the sunset from a park bench that was becoming their new tradition. What's that? I think I love you too, she said. It's not just the idea of you, not just the chemistry between us, but you, all of you. The way you make me laugh, the way you challenge my thinking, the way you make me want to be braver than I thought I could be. Alex kissed her then, right there on the park bench with other couples and families and joggers all around them, and Maya realized that she had finally learned the difference between understanding love and living it. So what happens now? Alex asked, echoing Maya's question from their first real conversation months ago. Maya smiled and squeezed Alex's hand. Now we find out what happens when a scientist and a philosopher decide to conduct the most important experiment of their lives, the experiment of building something beautiful together. And if we don't know how it will turn out, then we'll figure it out as we go, Maya said, amazed at how natural it felt to embrace uncertainty. After all, the best discoveries usually happen when we're brave enough to explore unknown territory. As they walked back toward their hotel, Maya reflected on how completely her life had changed. She was still a scientist, still passionate about her research, still committed to helping people understand themselves better. But now she was also someone who understood that the most important truths couldn't always be measured or predicted. They could only be experienced one brave moment at a time.